Egyptian art reflects a serene and optimistic outlook, not only in what it depicts, but in how it was created and why it remained unchanged for so long. Modern viewers often find Egyptian art unusual or even amusing at first glance. Human figures are depicted in a curious way. Heads and feet are shown in profile, while eyes and shoulders face forward. This was not a mistake or lack of skill. It was intentional. Egyptians believed that the perfect human form required all body parts to be shown in their most complete and recognizable positions. Each part of the body had ideal proportions. For example, the width of the shoulders was measured in standardized units relative to the eye. To achieve this ideal, artists presented different parts of the body from different angles. The goal was not realism, but perfection. This artistic convention developed very early in Egyptian history and changed little for nearly 3,000 years. That stability is significant. Egyptians believed their world was already perfect, orderly, and divinely structured, so there was no need for artistic innovation. Change implied disorder, and disorder threatened cosmic balance. The content of Egyptian art reinforces this optimism. Unlike Mesopotamian art, Egyptian imagery rarely depicts monsters, chaos, or apocalyptic floods. Instead, it focuses on everyday life, prosperity, agriculture, family, and religious ritual. The most common figure in Egyptian art is the pharaoh, who is almost always shown much larger than others. This reflects his divine nature rather than physical size. All Egyptian art ultimately revolved around the pharaoh. Egyptians believed that continued happiness and prosperity depended on obedience to the divine king. While this idea may seem strange today, history confirms that Egypt's stability and success were closely tied to strong central authority. Another major Egyptian contribution was papyrus, from which we derive the word paper. While Mesopotamians wrote mainly on clay tablets, the Egyptians developed a writing medium that was lighter, more portable, and more practical. Papyrus was made from the papyrus reed, which grew abundantly along the Nile. Egypt's dry climate allowed papyrus documents to survive far longer than expected, and thousands have been preserved. While formal hieroglyphs, whose name means priestly writing, were used primarily for monuments and tombs, they were inefficient for everyday writing on papyrus. Instead, priests and administrators developed hieratic and later demotic scripts, which were faster to write and easier to read. Egyptian religious beliefs also encouraged advances in medicine and anatomical knowledge. Because Egyptians believed the ka, the spiritual essence, needed a preserved body to inhabit in the afterlife, they developed sophisticated methods of mummification. This process required detailed knowledge of human anatomy and surgical techniques. As a result, the Egyptians possessed some of the most advanced medical understanding in the ancient world. Greek and Roman writers later expressed admiration for Egyptian scientific and religious practices and sought to learn from them. Egypt's influence on later civilizations was cultural rather than political. Divine kingship reappears in history, but not because of direct Egyptian transmission. Egyptian literature did not produce epic narratives equivalent to the Epic of Gilgamesh, nor did it innovate new literary genres. Temples and pyramids served religious functions, but also acted as monuments of royal propaganda, a practice common throughout history and not unique to Egypt. Perhaps the most distinctive feature of Egyptian culture was the belief that political, social, and economic order was part of nature itself. Society was governed by the same cosmic principles, ma'at, balance, and justice, that governed the rising and setting of the sun. Because of this, Egyptians believed their institutions could not and should not change. Change did occur in the ancient Near East, of course, but it happened slowly and gradually, often imperceptibly. Ancient peoples had no historical framework against which to measure long-term change. They had limited contact with societies outside their own, and therefore assumed that their way of life was universal and eternal. This belief made later adjustment difficult when new conditions eventually arose. Yet for thousands of years, Egypt's confidence in stability, order, and continuity shaped one of the most enduring civilizations in human history.